and welcome. My name is Ansu. If you don't know who I am, consider subscribing down below. Today I wanted to talk about all the books that I read in March. March was a great month for reading until like the last week when I got obsessed with the TV shows. Nothing happened with reading. So I read 15 books, of which 6 of them were graphic novels and 9 of them were actually novels. So let's talk about all of them. The first one I got to was Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. If you don't know, I absolutely adore Lynn Painter, so like no surprise here, I like this book a lot. Olivia has just broken up with her boyfriend who cheated on her, and she's obviously not doing that great, but she accidentally misdials this number and things get very steamy and they get to talking, and then she actually moves in to the apartment of her brother who also lives with Colin. Colin is her brother's best friend and they've known each other since they were kids, but then Colin always thought that she was this like annoying little kid, and Colin figures out that Olivia is the misdial. So once he figures it out, it's about them kind of navigating that relationship. It's cute, okay? I've been really into romances, if you can't tell, but it was really adorable. I really enjoyed it, so I would recommend you guys to pick it up. I'm like Lynn Painter trash. The next one I got to was Book to Die by John Dunning. I got this book from a book sale back in December because I saw the cover and I got obsessed with it. This is odd. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I would have liked to. I think I give it like 2 or 3 stars maybe. I think it was 2. It was pretty low. I wasn't really enjoying it as much, but I was just like pushing myself to get through it. We're following around this homicide detective, Cliff Janeway, who comes along the dead body of this book scout. So it has been going on for a while and he ends up dying. He apparently had gotten his hands on something very good, but he ends up dying. So it's Cliff just trying to figure out if it is sworn enemy who had ended up killing this guy. He also starts a bookstore, and this time it is very difficult. I think it's like in the 1950s, I think. I don't know. 1980s actually. It's interesting, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. So next I got to a graphic novel because I heard people say lovely things about it, and that was Fangs by Andersen. This is a very quick read. I finished in like 15 minutes, so definitely recommend checking this out because it is really fun, I'm not gonna lie. It's basically a romance between a werewolf and a vampire, and it's cute, okay? It's silly and it's cute and I really liked it. Sarah Andersen is also the author of Sarah Scribbles, which is really an adorable artwork style that she has on Instagram that I've seen. Quick 15-minute read if you're looking for that. Next up, I got an early copy of The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. I give this like 4 stars. It was a pretty interesting read. It is a mystery thriller. We're following around Gabe and Pippa, and they're living in their dream house, this like cliff area, but unfortunately the cliff is kind of notorious to be a suicide spot. So Gabe has been very good at calming people down and bringing them away from the ledge and saving their lives, until one day he doesn't convince the person and she ends up jumping. Or so it seems. Pippa is very sure that her husband had actually shoved this woman down the cliff, so she is really scared of who her husband truly is. It's that whole mystery of Pippa trying to figure out if Gabe is really the person that he truly says he is. And it was interesting. I really had a good time reading this one. The next one I read is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I think I've heard mainly about this book on Book Talk, I think. And so I was like, I'll give it a shot. I did not know it was so steamy. There were so many steamy moments, like sexy scenes. I'm just like, oh, did not see that coming at all. But I don't mind reading it, but it's just like I did not see it coming. I did not know that. I just knew it was a romance, but I didn't expect it to be that much. And we were following around this billionaire who is kind of like a grumpy dude, and we were following around another character who's like full-on sunshine, like sunshine incarnate, and they have like a weird relationship going on, and she ends up being like the planner. She's trying to bring in like different rides into this Disneyland type of situation, and she plans out these rides, but she's not very good at drawing, or she's not very good at like architectural things. So she asked the boss to like help out, and he's saying like, oh, there's some other guy who can draw really well, which is actually him, but he does not really say that. And he draws these amazing pictures, and she has like this text conversation with this guy, plus she has this like weird relationship with her boss. Things go from there. She kind of figures it out, obviously, who the person who was texting her was, and it was interesting to see like what was going on. I just didn't like how Zara was just portrayed. She's like too sunshiny. A review on GoodReads was essentially, the romance wasn't my favorite, to be honest. Zara seemed to laugh at everything and I found it a bit annoying, which is so true. Like the smallest things that happen, Zara just laughs and I'm just like, girl, why are you laughing? It's like not even funny, it's not even the situation to laugh, like what is going on? And it seems silly. Like she would laugh out loud like ha ha ha, and I was like, you good? What's going on with you? There's some talks about like depression and abuse that Zara had to go through, and I thought that was like an interesting take. It was done well in my personal opinion and I liked that, but the amount of smut, the weird romance dynamic, really did not enjoy all of that. So unfortunately this is not for me, but I've heard that this book is not that great and it's the rest of the series, I think the second or third book, which is pretty good. So maybe I'll skip to that one because this one didn't do it for me. So next up I read Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter. So we have this main character, Isabella Shea, who goes into like a Starbucks. She's going to her first day at work, and once she gets to Starbucks there's a huge line. She's not getting her drinks. So the barista essentially calls out Amy, which is the same drink that she ordered. So she's like, no one's picking it up, I might as well take it. So she took it and she crashes into this very handsome looking dude and she's like, oh, he's pretty. So they end up like kind of liking each other, digging each other. She goes into work and lo and behold, she actually meets him in the elevator and she's like, what? Ha! This is so cool. The only problem is that the hottie that she crashes into thinks that she's Amy and not Isabella because of this coffee order. And so they meet in the elevator to her work and they're just like, what? This is so cool. They exchange numbers and it's like, it's adorable. She goes about her day and she finally meets the VP of her company, and it is this hottie. And obviously he's like, wait, your name's Isabella? Like, you're Amy, like what is going on? And he's very upset. He does not like people lying to him and he's like, this is crazy, I do not like this. And yeah, things go from there. It's interesting, I really enjoyed it. It was a pretty quick read, so it didn't take me much time to get through it. And yeah, I did enjoy this one. I gave it like 4 stars, so it's pretty good. The next couple of books I read were graphic novels, and that was Lore Olympus volumes 1 and 2. I got these from the library. I had to return the second volume, so yeah, I read volume 1 and 2. It follows around these Greek gods essentially, and we're mainly following around Persephone and Hades and their like little romance. These were easily 5 stars for me because of the artwork. It's beautiful. Like honestly, each character has like a different color to them and that makes it much more easier to figure out who these people are, and I really enjoyed this take on it. It was really beautifully done. It has a lot of talks of abuse, depression, like sexual misconduct, things like that. It might be triggering to a lot of people, but it's very adorable and I absolutely loved it. It's really adorable. You can also see the artwork in here with colorful characters, and I think it is fantastic. If you haven't picked it up, I would definitely recommend you guys to do so. The next couple of books I read were from a Sassy cat mystery. So I read the first 2 books, which is Mimi Lee Gets a Clue and Mimi Lee Reads Between the Lines. So this is weird. This is a very odd cozy mystery. We're following around this woman named Mimi Lee who has just started a pet grooming store. Not been super successful, but she's pretty good at what she does. But recently a lot of pet owners are coming up with these dogs who have some like weird mutations going on. They're not doing so good. Physical health does not look right because it looks like they were not bred correctly. It's not a good look for whoever was like their dog breeder, I guess. So Mimi Lee finds out this person and she's like giving him a mouthful, kind of threatening him like, this is over for you, I will destroy you. And she leaves for the night. The next day, police come to her door because this man actually ended up dying. And the last person who saw him was Mimi Lee, and she had threatened him. So obviously she's like the main suspect in this murder. Mimi Lee also has this cat that her sister gave her, and this cat can talk. The cat can talk to her. And she's the only one who can hear the cat, and she has to speak like loudly for the cat to hear her. But the cat can like talk to her in her mind, she can hear it. It's stupid, but I really enjoyed it. It's a weird cozy mystery, but I liked it. It was fun. So this one was following around her as the main suspect of a murder. The second book is following around Mimi Lee's sister, who is the main suspect of the murder, which is also pretty interesting, and I had a decently good time reading it. It is odd, like I will give it that, and I feel like a lot of people might find this really dumb and not read it. But like honestly, it's fun. It's quite fun. The next one I read was Murder in Old Bombay by Ned March. I did not like this. I really wanted to like this because it is set in like Old Bombay, which is something that I have never really read. So I was very intrigued by it and I read it. I was not having it. The story essentially is of this main character who was like ex-military, and he comes across this article where this man is grieving the loss of his wife and sister. He's basically talking about an article that had been previously written about them, saying that they just suicided, and this man is grieving. He wrote back to the newspaper and has an article out in it saying that his wife and sister were like the best and happiest people. They would never suicide. There is no way they would suicide, especially not by jumping off a building. Like, that's not something that they would ever do. So here comes in our main character, and he's trying to solve the mystery behind this, whether these people actually suicided or if it was a murder. So they're trying to like explore this whole situation. There's a lot of high stakes and a little bit of a romance, weird romance, I don't know. There's a nice dynamic between the main character, who later finds out a bunch of children that he gets from the streets, so like him taking care of them and all that kind of stuff as well. It's interesting, but it was personally not my taste, and I will not continue on with this rest of the series. I kind of forced myself to finish it, unfortunately, and I didn't care for it. The next few books I read were the Mortal Instruments graphic novels. So I read Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. They were great, okay? It was a nice like little refresher of the entire Mortal Instruments series. I read the 3 books. So it's basically the City of Bones in the first 2 novels and the City of Ashes in the next 2 novels. So I'm like in the middle of City of Ashes. It has been really fun like revisiting what happened in those stories. I kind of forgot a lot of things that happened. It's nice to see it in a very quick fashion, just to see like what happened in those previous books. And it was interesting, not gonna lie. The artwork in here is pretty good. It is black and white. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I really liked it. I got it from the library. Just wanted to shout about that. The final book I read in the month of March was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This one follows around this chemist named Elizabeth Zott, and she's not an average woman. She's a very smart chemist. Obviously, she has been subject to a lot of sexism, except one person called Calvin Evans. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize, so he's really smart, and he sees her as just a chemist and not like a woman, so therefore she does not know what she's doing kind of a situation. They end up having like a romance, an unmarried romance. So obviously in this time in the 1960s, everyone kind of frowns upon that, and Elizabeth does not have a good time in her life during this time period. Something happens, and a few years later it ends up where Elizabeth is a single mother. She lost her job as a chemist because of some prejudices that these people had, and she ends up becoming a single mother trying to make ends meet, and she joins this like TV show called Supper at 6, and it's just Elizabeth being herself. Some of these lines are really funny. There's a little bit of like sexual abuse in the very beginning of the book. It was a little hard even for me to get through, which is something that I usually never get triggered by. But reading that was like so vivid, made me like a little upset. And just like fair warning, it was a great book, honestly. I really did enjoy it. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're interested. Alright, those are all the books that I read in March. So I had a very good time reading in March, and I cannot wait to see what are the books that I could read in April. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified every single time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you all next time with another one. Until then, I'll talk to you all in the comments. Bye!